In episode 6, we'll start off on Big Alice, where they're heading back to New Eden, but they're dealing with the fact that they just lost Ben. It's emotional for everybody. Also, they're bringing a lot of people back with them, and they have to address everybody. So, Till introduces everybody to the leader of New Eden, Ruth. Now, everybody knows Ruth, but not everybody was aware that she is the leader of New Eden. And as Ruth starts to address the crowd, she gets a little bit of stage fright, and she just has to leave. Till goes and has a talk with her. She feels better about the situation. She's just a little bit overwhelmed. And when she comes out, they all carve a B into the engine room to signify Ben and his importance to everybody in the sacrifice that he made. But with New Eden, they're dealing with the loss of Roach. Now, they don't know what happened to Roach, but they are concerned. He just went missing. One particular morning, Osweiler goes out in another search to find Roach, and he doesn't find Roach. But he does find the owner of that missing hand. It's Wickens, his old buddy from the train. He escorts Wickens back to New Eden, and they start questioning him on what exactly he was doing out there, but also how he lost his hand. Javi and Osweiler are willing to let him talk. Sykes, however, no, she's not about that life. She wants answers immediately on what happened to Roach. Wickens claims that he was a prisoner. He was forced to help these people, and they cut his hand off in retribution. But no one believes that. And for Osweiler, he doesn't care about what Wickens was really doing. He just wants to know where Roach is. And Wickens says, bro, I don't know. That's when Sykes just starts to torture him with his injured hand. Luckily for Wickens, a nurse walks in, and they're able to get it patched up. But he's in pretty rough shape. As Wickens heals up, Javi, Sykes, and Osweiler discuss the situation, none of which makes any sense to them. I mean, Roach goes missing right next to where Wickens was. It just doesn't add up. They know he's hiding something, but they're having trouble getting it out of him, especially with Sykes going all psycho on him. So Osweiler decides to use another method. He takes Wickens to his own camp later that night. He explains why he decided to camp away from everybody else. He asks Wickens, well, what if I give you your night car service in exchange for helping me get on the train? And that night car service is tickling. I don't kink shame on this channel. We've all got our thing. And for Wickens, it's getting tickled. Poor Wickens hasn't gotten tickled in a long time, so he takes Osweiler up on that offer, and Osweiler starts to tickle. But he uses this as a way to get the information out of Wickens. When Wickens gives the safe word, Osweiler doesn't stop. He starts questioning him on what exactly he was doing up there helping these people. And Wickens admits that he had pointed out Zara to them. He also pointed out Dr. Headwood, but he did so not knowing their intentions. When he found out what they were doing, he jumped from the snowmobile, his hand got caught, it was ripped off, and he passed out. He woke up and saw them digging his grave. They were digging a bunch of them along the ledge around where Osweiler found him. But when Osweiler goes to investigate these quote-unquote graves, he doesn't find graves. He finds bombs. Because Wickens thought that they were, in fact, digging graves, but no. Their plan was to legitimately bury New Eden. And those bombs are all set up. And then finally, over in the bunker, Alex is working with Dr. Nema. Dr. Nema is very interested in the nosebleeds, but before Alex gives him that information, she wants to know who made it onto Big Alice and who did not. Nema, however, just plays dumb, because he just wants to get his research and save the planet. Nema, however, knows more than he's letting on, and Alex has a feeling about that. Then there's Alex's old mentor, Joseph Wilfred. While it may have looked like Wilfred was working hand-in-hand with Milius, it's not really the case. Milius did, in fact, find Wilfred in that track scaler, and when he found out that Wilfred was the one who created Snowpiercer, Big Alice, he thought he could use him. Wilfred has kind of been his prisoner, but he's been playing the game. He has been helping Milius because he knows that Milius is his best chance to get back his trains. That, however, doesn't mean that he trusts Milius, and Milius has been working Wilfred really, really hard. Milius put Wilfred in charge of unblocking the tunnel that was set up when Big Alice escaped. But as Wilfred works on it, all of a sudden he has like a medical condition. He starts to get lightheaded. He cuts himself by accident. He doesn't even realize it. Wilfred has to go for a treatment with Dr. Headwood, and it's a treatment that he's received before. There's something medically wrong with Wilfred. But it's during this treatment where him and Dr. Hedwood discuss Milius and the fact that it's pretty obvious to them Milius is a little insecure about his power. That is on full display after this treatment goes through, and Wilfred is holding court with a bunch of Milius's men telling old stories about being on Big Alice and rallying the troops. It's talking about this type of leadership that really gets under Milius's skin, because it seems like, at least to Milius's men, that Wilfred was a great leader who knew how to lead by example, whereas Milius leads by intimidation and fear. And he shows off that fear. He takes Joseph Wilfred aside and he says, I've been working you really, really hard, but I think you deserve something in return. Why don't you go on a little sample run with the boys? See how it goes. Enjoy yourself. Blow off some steam. And this isn't a suggestion, it's an order. And Wilfred, knowing full well what this is, just once again plays the game, says, "Oh, that sounds great." As Wilfred is leaving for this sample run, he does run into Alex, and Alex can tell that there's something going on. She asks Wilfred, "Are you all right?" And he just says, "Let's just stay on the right side of the tracks, Alex." It's cryptic, but it's a warning. Now, what is a sample run? Well, a sample run is when Milius's men travel way, way down in the bottom of the bunker. They drop a bunch of MRE packets for the prisoners at the bottom of this silo. That's right, there are prisoners living at the bottom of this silo that have been experimented on. And it's at the bottom of the silo where Leighton wakes up. He has no idea where he is, and as he looks around, he finds out that he is not alone. Their leader, a woman named Kari, asks Leighton who he is, where he came from, and Leighton spills the details on Snowpiercer because these people have no idea what Snowpiercer is. But as Leighton is trying to explain to these people that he isn't a threat, they hear the elevator coming, and they know what that means. They know what a sample run is. The soldiers, along with Wilfred, drop all of the MRE packets into a room. They dim the lights, and then all of these prisoners go and they try to grab the MRE packets before they themselves are grabbed. It's like a cat and mouse game. But this does benefit Nema's research. Earlier in the day, Nema gave Milius a list of the prisoners that he needs samples of. Every time the soldiers grab somebody, they check their identification, and if it's on Nema's list, they grab a blood sample. It's barbaric, but in a way it's a win-win because all the prisoners get food. At the end of it, though, Wilfred thinks that he's heading back upstairs with all of Milius's guys, but he's not. He's forced at gunpoint to stay down there. And that is when Leighton finally gets his hands on Wilfred. He starts pummeling him, beating him for everything he's done. But Wilfred, being an engineer, was prepared. He had a knife, and he stabbed Leighton. And Leighton was forced to stumble back and try to find something that he could stitch himself up with. Meanwhile, Wilfred just locked himself in a room. Leighton found help in Kari, who was able to stitch him back up, while also explaining her backstory. She tells Leighton that it was an international peacekeeping lab. They were trying to find ways to reverse the effects of CW7, but there was a chemical leak. Milius sealed off the floors, and that's when they realized that they themselves were the experiment. They've been down there for 3 years, and when Leighton asks, "Why didn't you try to escape?" she says, "To what?" When Leighton gets all stitched up, he immediately goes to try to find Wilfred, and he finds that locked room that Wilfred is in, and he starts screaming, "Where's Liana?" And Wilfred says she's with all the other little boys and girls. She's probably sleeping right now. Wilfred, though, starts to defend himself. He tells Leighton that he would never separate a mother from her child, so killing Zara was never part of his plan. All he wanted to do was spare New Eden of a full-scale invasion by Milius and his men. He also tells him that the one who killed Zara was a big guy with a rat on his helmet. Leighton, however, continues to try to get in the room, and Wilfred just laughs at him, saying, "This is a really bad plan. I'm the one who could actually take you to Liana. What, you think the Admiral's going to do that? He's not going to do that." But Leighton is enraged, and he knows that Wilfred has no escape. The whole time he was in that room, though, Wilfred was working on getting the communication system back up and running, and he was able to do so. So he's able to radio up the silo to talk to Milius. He asks Milius to take him along once Snowpiercer leaves. That way he can fix Milius's mistakes. But Milius says, "No, Wilfred, you are the mistake." Wilfred, though, starts to mock Milius on the fact that his men don't like him, they're probably not loyal to him, and then he shuts off communication. Milius gets so mad at this that he instructs one of his men to go clear out that floor entirely. And Wilfred is fully aware that that will be the plan. But that was a part of Wilfred's plan, because he knows that the only way to get out of there is on the elevator, and they can't just wait around for the next sample run. He also knows that Layton is going to help him, because he's the only chance that Layton has of seeing Lyanna. And when he tells Layton this, Layton begrudgingly agrees that, yeah, he's right. So for the time being, they're allies. As Layton and Wilfred get acquainted and start to work together, Alex is up the silo and starting to piece together exactly what happened when Big Alice escaped. Through just looking at clues, she knows that somebody sacrificed themselves so Big Alice could leave. And that's when she gets Nema to admit that yes, Ben was the one who sacrificed himself and Snowpiercer escaped. He apologizes for her loss, but says, this place does have a purpose. I want to show it to you. And he brings her to one of the rockets that they fire off into the sky thanks to Snowpiercer. He explains the mission, but also says that they've been monitoring the effects of the chemical on some of the subjects. And Alex says, this is more than animal testing, isn't it? Nema admits, yeah, they had an incident. A couple of his colleagues got trapped in it. They had to close off the bottom floor of the silo. But their sacrifice led them to New Eden. Alex knows that Nema's data is incomplete unless he tests somebody that lived outside. She fits that criteria, so she says, okay, come on, let's go finish this thing. And Nema draws her blood. As she prepares to leave, though, she swaps keycards with Nema. So now she has full access to the silo. With this access, Alex gets in the elevator and heads down to those bottom floors that Nema was discussing. And what she finds is surprising. It's Wilfred and Layton side by side ready to attack because they thought when they heard the elevator that it was Nema's men, but it's not. But upstairs, it doesn't take Nema long to realize that his keycard is somebody else's. He checks, and sure enough, he knows that Alex stole his keycard and she's down at the bottom floors. So he instructs the soldier to shut the east elevator down. And as she's doing so, Milius walks in and tells Nema some good news. Melanie Cavill's Snowcat was spotted not too far away. Now it's just time to complete the mission.
Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.